should talk about The Vengeance and Saints of the Blood, because those were important. And I think some of the things that you've said about some of the other records comes full circle even with those two songs, because I think having done the solo records, having gone through some of the push and pull of the different Black Veil records, I feel like those two songs are extraordinarily pure examples of like, we're going to just do something that sounds like Black Veil Brides, like full on.
Yeah, I mean, the intention there was to write two songs that just felt like, if we could just get into a time capsule to where we were at in 2010, 2011, and just make songs without any outside influence. No outside producer, we had no label at the time. You know, it was before we signed again. We were kind of just in this limbo period where we were like, we have no one to answer to. Let's just make, before we sign again, because we had offers, but before we sign anywhere again, let's just do this. And you know, we can present whatever label we're going to. And ultimately that was Sumerian with these two songs. Go, look, here's some material. Let's release this right away. But that just, a lot of it, I would give Lonnie a huge amount of credit for that, in the sense that being around him had invigorated all of us to get back to what the band was, you know. And again,
because he has that insiders and outsiders perspective that he can now offer from within.
Yeah, I mean, and also, I mean, just the fact that Jake has become such a great producer and mixer and engineer, and just, you know, same thing with Jinx. And we've grown so much as a band that we knew that we could just do it on our own. You know, we knew we could just make these songs, make these videos on our own, no outside budget, no outside influence, just making it, recording it, putting all of our own resources into putting it out and everything else. And, you know, thankfully we were able to go to Sumerian and say, look, we've got these songs, and they got behind it. You know, they let us release it. You know, that was before we had ever really even finalized a record deal with them. Those songs came out. You know, we hadn't really officially even signed yet. So, of course, credit to Ash and everyone at Sumerian for that. But yeah, I mean, the recording of those was, let's write some Black Veil songs. We had some riffs sitting around. The riff for The Vengeance was dates all the way back to Russian and Divine. It was a riff called Burns Like Hell, I think. And we just could never figure out what to do with it, because it was so intense that it was like, at the time that we were working on Russian Divine, we wanted to strip everything down. And then we tried to do something with it again for the fourth record, but it just didn't fit. So it was this riff that was sitting around. About 40% of that riff that ended up in The Vengeance was sitting around. And then Jinx had some ideas, and then that was how that one was built. And then Saints of the Blood was all these new riff ideas, and it started to kind of snowball. And then that became, well, let's just keep writing. And so now here we are a couple of months later, and we've got 6 complete songs apart from those two, and about 12 ideas of songs, you know. So I mean, and this week, as we're speaking, I'm going to be in the studio every single day this week working. So, you know, the plan is to get a new record done and to get it out there probably first quarter of next year.
And is this being made the same way with Jake at the helm as producer?
What we've been doing is we've been working with, Jake is primarily doing the production and stuff, but we've also been working with Eric Ron a lot, who's great. Friends with CC, we've been working with him. But primarily, yes, we've been working at Jake's studio. I mean, I've been at Jake's house every day this week, singing and recording new material and songs.
That's awesome. So lastly, as we're talking about this right now, Sweet Blasphemy is the first real taste of Restitch that fans have gotten. And they say never read the comments, but I was reading through some of the YouTube comments within the first few hours of it being released. And one of the things that fans were commenting on the most that I kept coming across was how great your vocals sound, and how
it's a very different response to when that song was put out 10 years ago.
Yeah. So what was that like, knowing that you were going to have a chance? Because there's not many times in life when we get to go back and redo something, you know, especially something so important. Like, what was that experience, being able to?
Well, the germ of this idea started with working with Feldy, because he taught me different parts of my voice that I was not previously able to access or didn't know how to use. So after we did Wretched and Divine, hardcore Black Veil fans might remember that we tried to start an online campaign for ourselves to do We Stitch These Wounds in 2013. And we wwere trying to do it and trying to see if our audience would help us put pressure on our previous label to let us do it. And ultimately they were not interested in having something that would compete with their existing release. So once the statute of limitations on that contract had ended and we were able to do it, we always knew we wanted to do this, because just for me vocally, for Jake in terms of production, for all these things, we knew that we could do that record better. As far back as 2013, we knew we could do that record better.
And CC, I think, always wanted to play a bunch of those songs.
Yeah, CC was not on that album. And so, and we had played a fair number of them live, and he had made changes, and we were preferring the way that the songs were sounding live. Sweet Blasphemy is a song we played for years. It's in the Live and Burning DVD, I think, but it's not the version that's on the record, so we wanted to do that version. I've made slight alterations to the melodies in almost all of these songs over the years. A song like Never Give In, where it basically doesn't have a melody, it's just nonsense. That was a song where I was like, well, I could write this, like I can rewrite this and make this make sense. So there's some songs that have not drastic changes, but changes in the sense that the melody is being rewritten to make more sense. And then there's other songs where we really just remain true to the original recording. A song like Knives and Pens, we just made it better and bigger and better, but it's not the Knives and Pens that you've listened to for the last decade plus. It's just a more sonically sound version of that song. Same thing with Perfect Weapon or other things, like dumb things like Perfect Weapon. Some people might be upset to learn that we took the witch laugh out of the bridge in Perfect Weapon, because it just, again, we've just never liked it, or it wasn't, stuff like that we were able to change. But by and large, and then a song like Carolyn is a song that was supposed to be huge. It's a monster rock ballad. That was the intention, and it just sounds very small on the record. So having a chance to do all that again, but yeah, from a vocal standpoint, to re-record everything, to have the chance to sing now at 29 years old these songs that I sang at 19 years old or 18 years old, I just feel like I have a better grip on the material.
And I think one last thing to say about Restitch, that you and I, as fellow obsessives about different things in pop culture, there's that old adage, and it gets misattributed to all sorts of different people over the years, but there's that thing where people are like, this remake, it ruined the original, or this this movie ruins the book. Or no, the book is still on your shelf. The original record is still on your hard drive. It's still, nothing's ruined, nothing's replaced. And
that's why we wanted to make that really clear. I said it the other day. This is not a replacement for We Stitch These Wounds. It's meant to be a companion piece. If you like that record,
it's a director's cut.
And you'd be interested to hear how we would have intended for that record to go.
Right.
This is the hashtag release the Black Veil Brides cut of
Yeah. And fortunately in Restitch, Han Solo still shoots first. On the important stuff is in there.
All the important stuff. And we haven't, Hayden Christensen does not show up on the record at any point.
Well, on that note, my friend, thank you so much for making the time to do this. It was just as fun as I knew it would be, just as insightful. I think even for longtime fans and super fans of everything you've done, there's some new things for them to learn from what we just talked about. So appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, the more that I get to talk about this kind of stuff, I've never had a chance to kind of go into every single record. So I think there's probably quite a few things that I've said today that no one's ever heard me say before. So
there's even stuff that you've said that we hadn't talked about for the book. So bonus. Awesome. Well, thanks again. And all right. I'm sure I'll talk to you 10 minutes from now.
Thanks, bud. I'll talk to you in a few minutes.
All right. Later.
Bye.